Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. As Case mentioned in his article today, we are in the summer doldrums, so to speak, but the women's programs on campus are still maintaining a way to keep us interested, watching, and paying attention. And we'll get into that a little bit today as we discuss some things. But let's talk about what we got on board today. We got three of us in the house. You call us the Three Stooges, call us the Three Amigos, call us whatever you want to. But it's me, Jeff, and Jared that'll be handling the broadcast for you today. Uh, I'm not. I don't remember where Case was this week. He couldn't be here Saturday for radio, and then Daryl, I think, is going through some house renovation right now as they're trying to get an apartment ready for renting out. So uh, we'll miss them. Always
Mhm.
fun to talk with them, but I think we've got a good crew here that'll carry things through and do a great job with it. So, yeah, Jeff, what's going on, man? Let's talk about this a little bit here. It's you and me and Jared again. This is getting to be kind of an affair.
Yeah. Well, we've already established that Jared's already in a poly relationship, so
All we need to add is a piece of cake, is what
that's
you're telling
right.
me.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No. I was. We were saying beforehand before we started. I've been, watching the news this morning. I'm kind of a news junkie anyway, but seeing the stuff going on out of Russia yesterday and today has been intriguing. I'm not going to pass judgment. I kind of hope everybody beats each other up there to some degree, at least the leadership. But yeah, it's crazy stuff going on there. I hope it doesn't lead to bigger problems in other places. So, but
Yeah, we don't want to see that for sure.
yeah,
And Jared in the house as well. And Jared, are you beginning to settle into the role of being a married man now? Or
Yeah, I mean, not much has really changed other than uh, having house fever continues to grow for me. I'm ready to buy the house, but we're not quite there yet. Hopefully, that'll come in the next year or so. But I've been so, I guess, occupied enjoying this Cincinnati Reds hot streak that it's left Katie to do whatever she wants to do.
that has been kind of crazy, hasn't it? I'm
Yeah, another
I'm
big
not
win
a
last night.
I'm not a big baseball fan and not don't follow MLB at all. But man, wild stuff.
I don't either, but they're knocking some stuff around up there in the Great
Yeah,
American Ballpark. So let's give them credit on it. Let's give
yeah.
them credit for what they're doing. Uh, as for me, kind of a quiet week. Not a whole lot going on. I was got involved looking at some of the things going on with the softball program and then the lacrosse program a little bit, and was following some certain items and aspects all along that. So it's been kind of keeping me busy, and then so trying to just keep up with this bouncing schedule we've got here at Cardinal Couple on who's riding what and when. Uh, I think sometimes I have to be the Kreskin here to hold the envelope to my head and go Thursday, the day that Jared will be riding for Daryl, who took Case's day, Thursday. But
Hey,
always fun.
we get it done.
Yeah, always fun keeps an old man on his toes,
That's
and
right.
that's an important thing. So that's important for me. The scheduling, I don't think there's much you can go through there, Jared. If you're going to try that, Twitter, uh, you can throw the Twitter out if you want. That'll be fine.
Yeah, scheduling, I guess, whatever we have in our personal lives is the only schedule going on right now. Uh, Twitter hasn't been overly active for most of us either. Case who's out tweets out his best case scenario. That's BST in the word best, no E. Daryl tweets out his Daryl Faust 4. That's the number 4 in that. Paulie tweets out his Cardinal Couple. Jeff's got a couple Twitter accounts, Card Couple Radio and Jeff McAdams. And then I tweet out as Mr. Anderson Jared. So it's summertime's fairly quiet over there for us.
Yeah, it can tend to get that way at times. I mean, we learn to deal with it, and in past years, Jared, we've done the Cardinal Couple quiz, but I haven't quite gotten that back into to play yet, and I'm kind of debating on whether I want to do that this year or not. We'll wait and see on it. But
Yeah, I think we didn't do any of those last year, last summer.
yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe one or two, and that was it.
I'm
Yeah.
not even sure we did that. I think I might have not had any.
Yeah, we kind of lucked out with a lot of news and happenings last summer. It seemed like that kept us fairly busy.
But yeah, we can always pop one back in as a surprise for you guys.
Yeah.
But as far as Twitter information goes, no big changes, earth changes there, are there?
Nope.
Everything's fine on that then. Uh, I was kind of debating here a little bit and talking with the guys a little bit on what we would start with this morning. I've got some very good news and some kind of interesting news about Louisville lacrosse on campus. The lacrosse team recently got their results back from some semester grades and stuff like that, and then they had a very good semester. As the Cards had 19 team members named to the All ACC team. Yeah, and when you go to consider, like was pointed out by Case a little bit here, uh, the requirements for that are you have to have a 3.0, and you have to score a 3.0 for the semester in question as well as a 3.0 cumulative grade point average, and then you also have to participate in at least 50% of your team's contests in that
Hmm.
season.
Interesting.
Which
Okay.
was not aware of that aspect of it, but saw that.
Hmm.
So the 19 honorees was second best in the ACC, and it also represents basically about half of the team's rostered numbers and members. 'Cause 9 of the players did not complete at least 9 games. The Cards did play 17 games overall. So they actually had 66% of their eligible players on the All ACC team.
That's pretty impressive.
It's very good academics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, and Jared's been around the culture and he knows what it is like as far as them studying. And there are some really smart girls on the team, Jared.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They've as we've seen year after year, they're one of the highest, best teams in terms of academic standards, academic success, and this year was uh, no different than that. And I think it really uh, stands out to just the importance that the program as a whole has put emphasizing academics because once you get through your time at U of L playing lacrosse, unfortunately, there's not a high demand for a professional lacrosse, I guess, league out there right now. There's some places you could pick it up a little bit here and there on
Yeah.
the side, but
Athletes Unlimited has lacrosse, but that's about it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's not something that you'd be doing long term, nor would it be enough to consider a sustainable income even for a year.
Right.
And I think if anything, as far as next level lacrosse playing goes, it encompasses former players as well as current players and even high school players. I think Louisville has about 3 or 4 up with Team Canada, if I'm not mistaken, guys.
Yes,
I
which
don't
the
know if they've
lacrosse is
got
pretty
any.
big up in Canada.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if we've got any on the Team USA roster, but Team Canada does have, I think, 3 or 4 on that. And head coach Scott Teeter, of course, always involved from year to year with the Team Canada squad up there. The interesting news about lacrosse is that we started getting an unconfirmed kind of surfacing rumor a couple of days ago about Kay Morissette no longer being with the program. Now, if you're a fan of lacrosse, then you do know that Kay Morissette is an assistant coach with Louisville lacrosse, and I think began that role, if I'm not mistaken, guys, what 2019 maybe, or was it earlier than that?
Oh, gosh. In that ballpark, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, certainly it was before 2020, and it came in. Of course, we will remember her as a player. If you want to go back a few years, as the best in draw control history in the history of the Louisville program.
Mhm.
She was draw control when she played. Some people have even gone to name her as the best player to ever play lacrosse at Louisville.
There's an
That's
argument for
probably
that.
subject. Yeah, it was subject to an argument there, but we found out that she is no longer with the program, and It's an interesting turn of events. We're not really sure of all the details on that. We're trying to find out more information on it, but let's kind of compare notes here, Jared, on what you've been able to determine and what I've come up with. Kay's gone, buddy.
Yeah, so there's a vacant assistant coach position within the lacrosse program right now. Uh, no, obviously, no information's really been given, but to me, right now, just kind of upfront, sounds like when you've had a lacrosse program that's finished under 500 for the last few seasons, I think this is one of those cases where you have to make some type of change, which often means an assistant coach will uh, be the one that has to take the fall, and we've seen this with other programs in the past as well. And I think, unfortunately, Kay drew the short straw on this one, even after having a decorated career at UofL.
Louisville is in no hurry to get this out, though, Jeff, as they haven't made any changes on their homepage on the Go Cards website about coaching changes or made an announcement or anything about that. The whether this is a teeter request or whether it's the SID Rocco just kind of playing his marbles all in one circle here or whatever, you'd have to dig pretty deep to find that shoe's even gone.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon, particularly in off-season changes that the website for the roster and stuff like that won't get updated until they get closer to their either the beginning of the school year potentially or to the beginning of the season. So we look to that a lot for some of the information that we get, but we always have to keep in mind that that's not always up to date on what's going on. So we do look at other information behind the scenes. This is a case where I suspect updating that webpage is probably fairly far down the list of priorities for them to get done. So, yeah.
Especially so when you consider that the one who usually handles a lot of that for a site would be the SID. Mm-hmm. And in this case, Rocco, the SID is also the SID for football. And obviously, you know which one he's going to put priority on there.
Sure.
So that's going to fall beside. They have, over the last maybe 2 years here, Jared, you can correct me if I'm right on this or not, but they've been kind of shuffling the cards a little bit and throwing a few to Courtney Van Lowe, who writes write-ups.
I believe she officially graduated with her master's in the spring, so I don't know the status if she will be returning for this upcoming school year or not. If she's not, that leaves a bit of a gap for assistance needs with volleyball and lacrosse, as well as a little bit extra for basketball. So that's something I guess we'll play by ear and see what happens as the fall semester rolls around. If Courtney is still kind of taking charge for lacrosse, or if she is officially graduated and starting a career somewhere else.
I do know that Scott Teeter was a big fan of the work she did. Said he depended on her to do a lot of writings about the actual program. But getting back to the Morissette aspect of it here, wow, you got to take a look at the Louisville is playing lacrosse in by far the best lacrosse league in Division I. And that the program, although it's maybe gotten a little bit better over the years, hasn't jumped the way a lot of people would have liked to seen it jump. Still, when you're playing powerhouse programs like a North Carolina, for example, or a Boston College, Virginia Tech, some of the programs that are amazing in lacrosse. And Morissette was very close with a lot of these players too, Jeff. Your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, the ACC is an incredible lacrosse conference. I mean, you can't deny that. Dominant across the country in many respects. So it's definitely a situation where you're looking at how successful is it realistic to be, and how much improvement can you realistically have year to year. But at the same time, we're also looking at, do you have to keep improving? You do have to keep making steps forward. I think we made a little bit of a step forward if you look at just like pure record, but it's still not where obviously people want it to be, and changes tend to get made when that happens. So um, I don't know. It's there's just so much unknown about this situation that it's hard to speculate too much, and we don't have any really good hard information.
And to be quite honest with you all, I have never been to another ACC lacrosse facility except for the one in North Carolina, besides ours.
Yeah,
So I have very little to compare it
which
with.
is pretty much a temple to lacrosse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It's
for
it's it's an amazing.
for a very good reason down there. They've had incredible success down there. Yeah,
They cross the I's and dot the T's down there, to use a term. But they are a very, very good program in lacrosse, and their facility was fantastic. Louisville, let's face it, if we want to play a night game and they want it on television, they can't play it at the LLS. They've got to go over to the football field and play it. Clearing the field sometimes has been an issue with the inclement weather, but they usually get that done pretty well.
Mhm.
There is plenty of seating available. I mean, that's never been a problem. The bleachers run from one goal line basically to the other on one side of the field. So there's a room to put a lot of bodies in there. And I've seen it fairly full before. I haven't ever seen it, standing room only, but I've seen it pack up pretty good. My thoughts of the press boxes: it's pitiful. You you have to open the middle window to hear anything that's going on in the field, and if it's a cold breeze blowing in that's coming directly at you, going from east to west, you're going to get cold in that press box. It doesn't matter
yeah,
how high they've got the heat on.
yeah. I think unfortunately that's the nature of press boxes in general. Unless you put a mic down on the field that you pipe into the press box to hear things.
A lot of them do have to crack a window. I
Yeah,
can't remember if they've had to at soccer over the years or not.
yeah. I don't know
Uh,
about soccer, but I know they have for field hockey and softball.
Field hockey they've had to, and for softball they've had to, but
Yeah,
still,
I think
they're
they try to radio in with walkie-talkies when possible, but that's not always
yeah.
possible. And lacrosse, it's an easy about 10-foot distance between the sideline and the press box. So I can understand why they go the open window for that.
Well, and the official stand where you have subs and everything is happening is on the far side of the field from the press box. So
right. Well, yeah, because if you take a look at, for example, lacrosse, I mean, for field hockey, it's on the same side as the press box, right underneath
right,
it down there.
yeah.
The teams are on the same side as the press box.
And yet they still use the walkie talkies there
Yeah,
frequently.
but in lacrosse, you've got everything across from where the actual press box is.
Yeah.
One movement they made on the lacrosse field, which I liked a lot, is they did put a scoreboard in the middle of the field instead of having it way down in the corner of the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
At least you can see the board now, and
Yeah.
it's pretty clear out there. So that's a nice thing to have. But no, there's no, let's call it indoor facilities on campus there. You've either got to use a portalet, or you've got to see if you can somehow get into the SAC building, or not the SAC building, the lacrosse offices and locker rooms, and use
Yeah.
the bathrooms on the first floor there.
They have officially moved it to porta potty only for spectators.
So yeah, so if you're a spectator, you can only use the porta potty. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. And as far as they used to have food trucks out there where you could get something, and usually had some pretty good deals. But I don't recall seeing one last year. I was trying to think if there was one 2 years ago or not. So there are things that can be improved on and done on, but it'll be an interesting turn to kind of see how things go with the lacrosse program now that Kay Morrison is gone, because she was very popular with the players and the girls. They loved Kay.
Mhm.
How's that going to spin now that she's gone? We'll have to kind of wait that one out and see. But that's the big news as far as that sport goes. Obviously, a very, very good academic season for them. But some change up.
Leadership unknowns. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can only hope it goes for the best, because I think Peter has an assistant coach. Allison Daly, I think, was a head coach at another D1 program before she left that program to come to Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
So there is experience there. But we'll have to wait and see more about that. Certainly, we have to applaud them though for their academic standards, and let's hope that they can, you know, ride the choppy water out right now, as far as it goes with Morsehead. See what happens there. Uh, Looking at softball, which is all the way down at the other end of the campus,
Mhm.
let's head down there, and it looks like softball has been having a love affair with the SEC. They've taken two players from UK. They've sent players to Georgia and Florida, and they sent a coach to LSU. Hey, Jared, what is this? Bingo?
It feels like some version of like a trading card game at this point. Well, one of those, hey SEC, we'll send you this person for that person. Uh, but still, losing Sarah Gordon and Corbiotis and your hitting coach Bryce Neal all in the span of a week to SEC is tough. And I think part of that just is how highly tiered the SEC is in terms of softball. There's a lot more of a following. There's a lot more money that's invested through SEC softball than there is ACC. So I can fully understand if Corby and Sarah are wanting more exposure, potentially NIL deals, chances to make it out to Oklahoma City. The same for Bryce with opportunities down in LSU. I know for Sarah, it's a lot closer to home. She's only about a 3-hour drive now. For Bryce, he's a lot closer to home as well. I believe his family is from southern Arkansas, so it's an easier trip for them. Uh, Corby's from Colorado, so that doesn't do much going to Florida in terms of if she wants to be close to home. But I think it's just moving up a level to the SEC, which is just arguably overall the best softball conference that doesn't have to rely on one or two teams.
Yeah, the SEC and softball is kind of like the ACC and field hockey and lacrosse. It's pretty dominant. You know, you get some Big 12 stuff out there, but top to bottom, the SEC is really good in softball. So if you're looking for high quality softball at a conference level, that's where you're going to look.
And taking just a kind of a quick look here at Florida, I think finished as the 21st ranked team in the nation. Certainly a pretty nice record for them there. LSU was the 20th ranked team in D1 Nation for softball. At the end of that, I think Georgia was a bit higher. I think they came in 12th, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, obviously players are trending upward by leaving and going to a program that is a top 20 program. Okay? You can't blame a player for wanting to play with better competition at times, okay?
Mhm.
I can't blame them. On the other side of the pencil here, a team that was not in the top 25 but played in the very competitive SEC in Kentucky decided that they were going to unload a couple players and Louisville ate them right up in Izzy Harrison, who's a pitcher, and Chelsea Mack, who's an outfield. And I'll ask you first, Jared, what do you think of this move of getting these two in from our rival down I-64?
Yeah, well, you need to, I guess, reload and stock back up on players, and Kentucky's a good place to do that. They've historically had loads of talent. They are another decent team this year. They didn't host a regional this most recent year, but they were pretty close to it.
Yeah. Their baseball did and probably shouldn't have.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, tangent.
But it was nice to at least bring in another outfielder since we are losing. Since we have lost Corbiotis, we're gonna need somebody else out there, and not sure who's gonna take control out in the middle. And then with the Cassie Grizzard still in the transfer portal as well, haven't heard any news there. Picking up another pitcher to replace her is going to be beneficial. But now we also need to look for probably a transfer catcher. I know we have a freshman coming in, but we may need to look at adding another catcher to the roster.
Yeah, I think from what I saw,
you don't typically want to rely on incoming freshmen, but who worked for us this past year? So yeah,
fantastic in Gordon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, she came in as a freshman and took over. I think I saw in the six that Holly April has listed as coming in as freshmen, two of them are listed as infield / catchers.
Yeah.
So, what you will, maybe a catcher there. It was also mentioned that Allie Alexander had caught a couple games. Well, I don't think you're going to take her off third base and put her at catcher. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
I don't think.
she's good at that third base shortstop, particularly third
Yeah,
base
I,
position.
I
So
think she's more of an emergency catcher than
yeah,
anything.
yeah, that's kind of the way I saw it
I
too. But
mean she can do it if necessary, but yeah, I think generally you want to keep her in the infield.
it's just like the old designation: if fire break glass, you know,
Right.
behind the glass, and there she is. Uh, Looking at what came in from UK though, Izzy Harrison, a pitcher who spent 2 years at Kentucky, a total of 27 appearances for the Cats. She had a total of 10 starts over 2 years. Uh, she was 2-0 in the 21-22 season and 1-3 in 22-23. So, as you break that down, 3-3 for her 2 years at Kentucky. So, obviously, not one of their prime hurlers, you might say, but certainly a pitcher that has thrown against some pretty good competition in the SEC. With the freshmen that Louisville's got coming in, Jared, and two really good ones, is this a strength for the program or just kind of a backup for the program? How do you see the move getting her in?
I haven't really gotten a chance to watch the two incoming transfers yet, and I don't recall seeing them play against UofL this past season. But you're losing your ACC Freshman of the Year, and you're losing an All American, so trying to replace them in general is going to be tough. So at the moment, I want to say it's more of a roster fill type spot, but who knows? Once the season rolls around, they may prove to be some of our strengths out there on the field.
Definitely a chance for that to happen. Well, we certainly hope it does happen. Uh, One of the areas that kind of got me, though, is that Sarah Gordon was just being talked about by being the wave of the future for Louisville. And there was no competition whatsoever for her job. So that was a bigger surprise to me, I think, than Otis leaving, was the fact that such a stalwart player for Louisville all of a sudden said, "Hey, guess what? I'll see y'all later. I got to catch this other job."
Yeah, and I worry that there's a perception problem here, and by that I mean is Louisville starting to be perceived as a place that you can go to get a year or two under your belt and develop and practice and become a better player and improve your stock to then move on to a bigger, better program. I hope that's not the case, but I worry that that's kind of how our program is being perceived right now. Um, of course, the solution to that is you continue to succeed and improve to where you become a destination as opposed to a waypoint. We talk about that in a lot of different sports. So, I don't know. I'm worried that perception is what's out there, though.
Taking a look at the other UK transfer in, uh, Mack was a very, very, I guess, usable outfielder for UK. Chelsea Mack also had a freshman season in with Kentucky, and then she was in 39 games for the Cats out there. Uh, I don't see any spectacular numbers on what she did as far as what she put up playing in 39 games, but certainly I think it's an experienced player that you're going to be thankful to have once that Otis is gone, Jared.
Yeah, she's got a lot of speed from what I can tell, which is good because Otis had a lot of speed, but I don't know what she can do with the bats quite yet because you had Corby Otis who hit a tremendously high batting average with a lot of multi-base hits, a lot of home runs, a lot of RBIs. Uh, and are we going to be able to replace that? And by losing our hitting coach, are we going to be able to have somebody who can help develop these players at the plate?
And that's going to be a key, too, because you certainly need to replace actually another big bat, too, and somebody who was probably our best bat in Taylor Roby, who's also gone. So a lot of meat off that turkey leg. Hope we can get some back on it. Uh, looking a little further at what softball has done, Bryce Neal really did a lot for the program, Jared, as far as hitting instructor. Uh, kind of a disappointment to see him leave as well.
Yeah, it was a night and day difference from once he arrived on campus and how much the offense has really improved in recent years as opposed to before he had arrived. It felt like there was a lot of looking strikeouts, a lot of weak infield grounders and pop ups, and then he was really able to work with them to be a lot more power driven with their swings. We were seeing a lot more line drives, and even if players were getting out, it seemed like they were either going down swinging or they're hitting something that ended up in the outfield, as opposed to kind of what appeared to be an easy out. It's just one of those things. I think it's another one. LSU's a much higher tiered program than Louisville is uh, or has been in recent years. So it's an improvement for him. I don't think he's going to stay long at LSU either. I think he's probably on track to become a head coach within the next 5 years or so.
Certainly would think his stars are headed in that direction. You would.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. It could be a pivotal year for Sandy. Not for Sandy Pierce. Oh my God! I just went back into the last century, kids. Sorry about that. For Holly April to see how she
Old
does.
habits die hard, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And Lilo Prado's right around the corner. We're going to talk about him next. Oh, wait a second. No. Hello, Senility. My name is Paul. We'll see what happens. With some key changes like that. At least there are some very decent returning players in the lineup that can maybe kind of help and staunch things down a little bit and help things out a little bit. We'll see what happens. It could be a fun off season to see what happens there. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, at least in basketball, I think the transfer portal is now done for the year. I think it's closed out.
It's for this academic year.
Yeah.
Well, I guess reopen sometime in the fall, probably. So.
Because I did see that, like on one of the last days of it, Amani Lester, who had sat the season in basketball for Louisville women's basketball, ended up out at Kansas State. So they plucked her out of the portal and took her, and at the very, very end of it, so could be interesting to see what she does out there for them. But a lot of activity stateside. But hey, Louisville athletics was busy down in South America too. And when I mean that, they weren't down there trying to, clear a field for planting banana trees or anything. No, they were playing volleyball in Brazil and playing some very, very good competition down there. So, Jeff, you followed some of this, saw some of this. Some of your thoughts about how they played down there?
Yeah, not a huge amount of information coming out of that trip, but there was some. They did play 5 matches. They won all 5. They swept at least a couple of them. And one of the air quote sweeps was 5-0. They actually played all 5 sets, regardless of having won the first 3. But good competition with some good club teams. And then the last 2 matches they played were against the under 21 women's national team program. They played them twice in a row. And some great experiences. Obviously, all the women on the team had a lot of fun with the trip. It was a fun trip. It was, a great opportunity. They were, it was a 10-day trip. They played 5 matches. They had, 5 full days of being able to do sightseeing and other things, plus some practice time in there and all of that. So it's good stuff. Also kind of nice for a couple of international players to get some NIL opportunities that they don't get to participate in while they're here in the States. So good for them. Great practice, great experiences for them. And from social media, it looks like they all had a lot of fun with it. So
getting the opportunity to do something like that in basically the off season is so important. Also, I think you could say for team building and also team familiarity with each other, because certainly they've got a head step on the rest of the league, pretty much, don't they?
Oh, for sure. This is, when you count the amount of practice time they had before they left, plus the time they had while they were there, you're probably looking at an extra 3 weeks of practice effectively. Um, that's big. Um, this was the whole team assembled as it is going to exist in the fall as well. All of the incoming freshmen were able to go on this trip as well, all five of them, which is wonderful. We have two transfers in, one joined in January, so that was no big deal. The other one got here just before they went on the trip, so got a couple of weeks of practice time before they left. And yeah, so it's the team and the roster that is going to be the team and the roster in the fall, and so they had this opportunity to get together and team bonding and get to know each other and get to understand each other's preferences and experiences and techniques and timing. That setter hitter timing is such a big deal, so they got time to work on that. So yeah, absolutely, this is a big deal. It's a great thing they got to do.
Certainly glad they did it. And there's another Louisville women's athletic squad that's going to get a very similar type of opportunity. Jared, women's basketball is going to head up to Canada and take part up there in a classic up there. It's certainly something that's going to be very, very interesting for the Cards to do. And Jeff Walls held a presser on Wednesday where he talked about that a little bit and also talked about some of the new players on the team. So exciting for the Cards to be able to go up and take part in this Canadian tournament, Jared.
Yeah, it'll be a great time with all the new faces on the team, just to get them out there playing competitive basketball against other teams and other programs, and not just intra-squad divisions and intra-squad games. So this will allow the coaching staff to really assess how the team's gelling, who's understanding the system, and who's going to fit best at what position. Because players often will transfer in and they're specializing in one position, but they may have to adapt and adjust and play a different position when they arrive at a new team. So that's a lot that we'll kind of see how things are working out. I do hope to see that some of our returners, such as Olivia Cochran and Marissa Russell, will step up and show a lot of leadership, especially during this trip.
Yeah, you've got to really hope that those two and certainly Alexis Mobley as well can jump in and say, hey, we're experienced players, have been here for a while. Let us show you the ropes a little bit. Let's do some stuff. But I think as not maybe as equally important, but something that's gotten a lot of conversation from Cardinal women's basketball fans are the 7 newcomers. I'm trying to think back.
when 7 is insane number.
My eyes are rolling in the back of my head. 7?
Yeah.
Could I even remember and memorize these about the time the season starts?
Welcome to the world of the portal. Yeah, but
yeah, it's a transfer portal has started. Yeah. But Aaliyah Love actually came in a little bit before that, a transfer in from Georgia Tech. Jada Curry, an incredible guard who's coming in from California. You've got Henny Von Scheike, who is a transfer from CSU Bakersfield. More of a frontline player. I think she's 6'3", 6'4", one of those players that could add some rebounding. Kiki Jefferson coming in from James Madison, very nice guard there, and Nina Rickards, a guard coming in from Florida. So 2 players are coming out of 2 very good programs who are coming in here. You've got Sydney Taylor, who's going to come in as a grad transfer. She played at UMass last year. And out of all that bunch, only 1 freshman. And that's what kind of amazed me out of this whole thing here. Is you've got 1 freshman there. And and I had her first name down that I could pronounce it really good. And then I just all of a sudden just went blank on it. So I'm going to give it my best shot here. Isosa. And
yeah, I'm gonna have to practice on that one a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask Nick or somebody down there. Hey, have I got this right? I'm going to go with it. So
just ask her if you meet her. I mean, there's
absolutely, yeah.
Doing that, yeah.
So how do you pronounce your first name? Is it Bob or Jerry?
Yeah.
I did that with Shanta years ago.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure if it was Shantae or Shanta or. So I said, how do you pronounce your first name? Is it Bob or Jerry? She got a big kick out of that.
Yeah.
Because they call me Toughness. and she certainly was.
Well, yeah, not wrong. So
A 6'5" center here in Infidon coming in who hasn't had a wealth of basketball playing experience coming to us, obviously from Nigeria. Played at an academy last year here on stateside up at Proctor Academy in New Hampshire. Just kind of trying to define her skills a little bit, developing a post presence. It's great to have a 6'5" on the roster, and this one's got a book that yet has yet to be written. I think, Jared, on what she's going to be able to do for us.
Yeah, it's one of those that how quickly are they able to adjust to basically American basketball? We've seen where players had a tough time being able to play right off the bat, such as Narika Kono. It's a different style game at different places around the world. Hopefully, this is something that'll be an easy transition for her, and with the coaching staff that they'll be able to work with her and have her ready to see a fair amount of playing time her freshman year.
The fans, as their subject and want to do, are already trying to name and predict the starting lineup.
Yeah, I'm not trying that right now.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't think that
not yet.
an interstate we want to take this car up on yet. Okay, we're going to stay on the surface roads, uh, but 7 newcomers in here. Obviously, let's face it. At least one's going to have to start, even if he starts the 4 that are coming back. One of these are going to have to start. Uh, what I've seen, just on articles I've read, some of the tapes I've seen on these players and some other things, Jada Curry looks like she could be something really, really sharp for us out of Kansas. I mean, out of California. She was the leading scorer out there for them the past 2 years. And then just decided all of a sudden, okay, I'm out of here. Unfortunately, the team's record was not over 500 both those years, but they're playing out there in that tough pack conference, man. That pack is tough. Believe me. If you don't believe me, take a look at what they do. Another one that I was very, very impressed with, and I think could see some definite playing time for us, is Sydney Taylor, who's coming in from UMass and a grad student. Are there any that stand out to you guys, or do you need to see some more stuff on them yet, or where are you at on these 7 new players?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I don't even know who they all are at this point. So yeah, I'm definitely still learning and finding out about them before I can really make any sort of judgment call on that. It's been a whirlwind keeping up with the roster changes. So and that's not bad. It's just it is what it is. But definitely going to be taking some time to kind of learn a bit more about them and evaluate before I try to make any sort of predictions.
Well, you do need a ball handler on the court. That's a given. Same way football needs a quarterback. That's probably your most important position. So, as Paul mentioned, Jada Curry seems to fit that description as of right now. Long way to go before the season actually starts, so we'll wait to hear that. We have plenty of scorers coming in. There's no shortage of people who have experience taking over a game and scoring. So I'm not too concerned there. We're going to need defenders who can play Louisville's defense the best, who can do on-ball defense, who can work transition defense, who's going to be a shutdown down low, kind of in the paint. I think whoever shows the most improvement on defense and looks most comfortable out there is going to be the ones that start day one.
If you look at the last couple of years of Louisville women's basketball, there has been that, I'm not going to call it all-star, but that one name that gets mentioned by just about anybody when they're talking about Louisville women's basketball. Of course, in the past couple of years, it was Haley Van Lith. Before that, Dana Evans. And then you can go back to further years like Maisha Hines-Allen. Is there that type of name, top of the list player on this squad that people are going to get in the first paragraph when they're talking about Louisville women's basketball? Can you guys predict one. I was thinking Olivia might be it, but I'm not positive.
Not sure yet. It seems like Olivia Cochran has been doing a lot better in terms of mental health lately. Just following some of her posts out on social media, she was really struggling a lot last year, which then ended up impacting her performance on the court in several games. She seems to be in a better spot now, so I think she could be one. Uh, she needs to make her layups. Would be a good start. I mean, if she can make the layups, her scoring would probably double from what it was last year, with just how much greatness she showed. But I could see a transfer coming in and really taking over the spotlight as that go-to player. As you hinted at, Jeff Walls uh, historically has always had that go-to player for many years, the one that the ball would be in their hands the
Yeah,
final couple minutes down the stretch. So we'll see who takes over that role.
you got to think, Jeff. Is there one? Because even going back to the days of Asia Dore, and then before that, Angel McCaughtry, Shoni Schimmel. There's always been that one name that has been kind of assigned to Louisville basketball, and then the
Yeah,
others are kind of blowing.
that's sometimes that one name comes out of nowhere, though. I mean, even with Angel McCaughtry, she was I don't know how to put this. When she first got here, she was like out there as far as like this crazy, almost perceived as this crazy, like who knows what she's gonna do
Yeah,
type of person, type of player. She developed into quite a great player, and particularly when Jeff Walls got there, they bonded and became, they worked really well together. But that was by no means expected from
yeah.
her early days. So, man, who knows? It could be anybody. It could be one of the transfers. We certainly have seen that with Emily Inkster coming in one year and kind of becoming that for a year. It's I I don't know how to predict that. I haven't figured out what the right combination of ingredients are that results in that.
It is a tough call, and the funny thing about Angel too is you had Jazz Covington,
Yeah, who
who
was
was
doing very, very well. Yeah, she's a very fine player.
she was the named player that freshman year for Angel, and then all of a sudden, and I can remember just sitting there and watching Angel, doing stuff out there. It's got us all kind of scratching our heads, going like, "Wow, is this
Yeah,
wall
how did
sanctified? Yeah, yeah. What's going on here?"
how did that work? Sort of things.
Yeah, and then when she and Walls butted head to head, there's the story that she went to the bus station and was ready to go home, and Walls had to send Steph Norman to go get her back and talk her off the ledge, so to speak. Uh, Awfully glad that she stayed. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that they worked that out absolutely.
We'll see how that turns out if we get one to come in like that and be one of those. I think it'd probably be one. My guess is going to be Olivia Cochran. Certainly, all
Yeah,
the signs indicate toward that and point
I
toward that.
think I think a healthy Alexia Mobley might become that too.
Boy, she was impressive in high school. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
And she's certainly athletic. She's certainly got some capabilities. Whether she's going to be able to put it into a coherent game is going to be the big question that I don't think we can answer yet.
Jared, it's going to be kind of tough not to see Noriko out there after all
Yeah,
these
I know
years.
she'll be cheering Louisville on from afar. I don't know how many games and streaming options she'll have back home in Japan, as cable and internet vary from country to country, so her viewing options may be limited. But even if she makes a surprise appearance in the U.S., I don't think that's in the plans right now. But that would be phenomenal to get her back out there because I know the fans loved her to death, and I think we're all just happy to see that she is doing a lot better now in mental health than she was there for a couple years stretch during COVID.
And certainly will be one that Louisville will count on a bunch. Uh, let's jump over and take a look at one of the fall sports that we like to cover coming up, and that's women's soccer. Karen Ferguson days with a squad where she's been doing some addition to the roster. Uh, Victoria Wick coming in. Uh, Maya Anada coming in. That'll be a fun one to pronounce. And Fiona Gaber coming to this incoming class. It's kind of taking a look at these and kind of seeing what we've got here. Wick was the first one that they basically announced, and one of the things that she has kind of been known for is that she was playing in Denmark, of all places, coming in to go to college, and was playing for one of the semi-pro teams over there. Uh, a very, very good attacking player, according to Ferguson days, who will be a tradition, will be an addition for them offensively that they're really looking forward to. And they're kind of looking for that type of player, if I'm not mistaken, guys. Someone that can take over that offense and kind of be that leader like a Nekic or someone else was.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
right case. Oh wait, he's not here.
Yeah, and this is a bad week for Case to miss, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think the women's soccer program is kind of similar to how Jeff mentioned about softball, where the perception is almost like they're becoming a pit stop for players, as we've seen a lot of players come in and after a year or two end up departing to go elsewhere, and then even some of the biggest names out there in terms of the recruiting world seem to just overlook Louisville altogether. So having a player like this come in could hopefully help uh, alter the path that the program's on and maybe really get them out there in a tough ACC conference and and bring in the spotlight with more recruits in the future.
another that we mentioned in passing there is a very, very good player who's going to be joining the Cardinals from Binghamton, of all places. Binghamton. Maya Anad will be a graduate transfer. She played her first 4 years at Binghamton, now a Cardinal. Uh, Karen Ferguson days is really high on her. She thinks that she's going to be a player that can come in here and add some stability to the forward, one of the forward positions, and also one who is very good at racking up assists. Somebody you'd certainly like to have on the team. So a grad transfer. We've seen luck with those and not so much luck with those, but this one looks like it could be a good one, guys.
I'm excited. We're having some talent coming in with the soccer program and uh, some really strong talent returning too. We've seen a lot of them that are with uh, Indy 11 club system right now that are all returning. That we've got a good, maybe like a good solid core to work around and build around right now and continue to develop. I think there's a lot of young talent on the soccer program right now that could, uh, give us some surprise wins out there this coming season.
And Jeff, if two forwards weren't not enough, we've got a third one coming in Fiona. And this is the one I'm not sure how I'm going to pronounce his last name. We'll have to get some clearance on this. But if you first look at it, it's Fiona Gaber.
Yeah.
But then it's one of those weird bees that you find in the German language that kind of
Oh,
looks like an American bee, but not quite an American bee.
okay.
And I don't know how you pronounce that.
Oh, if it's what I'm thinking of, it's almost like an SH sound, which is bizarre. But
Yeah, that would be bizarre.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I have not caught any of these for soccer, so I'm very ignorant of what's going on for that program. So these are all new to me. Uh, you know, forwards are fun. They're the ones that score a lot.
yes,
So
yeah.
it makes for a really fun game if you can get some high quality in there. But it's obviously it's not the totality of the game. You got to have your mids and backfields for defense and transition. But man, it's I know it's you get some good forwards on a team, and it can be a heck of a lot of fun to watch. Maybe not the best soccer overall, but a lot of fun anyway.
We will have to get, and we will talk with Karen Ferguson days if I can before the season starts, obviously, to get kind of a breakdown and a further rundown and dossier on all these, especially how to pronounce Fiona's last name. So I don't think she'll become one of those one players that goes by one name only like Amina did. Or
Yeah, so
Gabby did.
it's GAI, the funky little B thing, ER. So Geisher.
I
I
just, yeah.
think in German, if I understand correctly, if you have two vowels together, you pronounce the second one. So it would be guy as opposed to gay for the first syllable, and it's that B I think is an sh sound. So I think it's going to be Geisher, but don't quote me, please.
Yeah, we'll be taking with odds on that to see how close Jeff gets on that.
Yeah,
Take some early wagering now. Should be fun to see. Uh, Cards will be obviously getting some things together. Uh, I know they had 3 spring matches, Jared, if I remember right. But I can't remember how they did in them. So I know they did. Bowling Green was one of them, and there were a couple others.
they had one that
Anything that
was
you
not a
remember?
university one, right? Like
Oh yeah, they went down and played the FC. Yeah, uh,
they,
downtown.
they played Racing FC.
Yeah,
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was Racing or one of the like development teams, but yeah,
they did actually play racing. So
yeah,
let's
Yeah,
see.
I don't remember how they did and fared in the matches, but it's always a good experience just to be able to play a few matches in the off season and try and keep your legs fresh.
Because I know they had Bowling Green in there. Uh, Pretty sure they had Michigan State in there too, and maybe Dayton. I don't know if I'm right on that or not, but I
yeah. I
think
don't know.
Dayton was a one as well. So there is spring soccer that goes on. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, I think only one of those was actually at a Lynn though, and that was the Michigan State one.
Hmm. That
So,
sounds vaguely familiar.
but
Yeah,
certainly look forward to seeing if they can have a nice season here. Uh, Other sports and areas of that we were going to talk about, guys. Have you got anything else you want to throw into the show today? Because I've gone through my list and actually added a couple things to it to kind of get some information out there. What am I missing here?
oh gosh, the only major sport we haven't talked about that that we majorly cover is field hockey. Um, no drama there. No, they're kicking butt academically as they always do, but nothing specific from that. So
Shout out to swim and dive Elsa Prestrink.
yeah,
She was competing in the European Games 2023.
hmm,
The 10-meter platform final. She did finish seventh, score of 278.15, and that was announced yesterday afternoon/evening.
yeah,
That's huge.
yeah. And I don't know if we talked about this last week. I don't remember when it happened, but Amina Ekic is back and active with Racing Louisville. So
Right.
she has been coming on as a sub a little bit. So in fact, came on as a sub for Savannah DeMello, who got called up to the national team to play what place for the Olympics, I guess, maybe. Which is a big thing for Savannah DeMello. She's only been a couple of years in the league. It'll be her first cap. But also then leaves an opportunity for some other players to come out. Racing has like 6 players that are going to be playing internationally in this international break, and like almost all from different countries, just all over the place. So kind of cool.
Cool indeed.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe a little more here on the Walls presser that he had Wednesday. Usually, if Jeff's in the media press room for more than 15 minutes, they've locked the door and he can't get out. He likes to get in and do these things and knock them out pretty quickly. Uh, Admittedly, I wasn't there. I think the only ones there were a couple of TV stations and the gal who does the write up for the Courier Journal, Alexis, I think maybe, if I'm right on
Yeah, I
that.
don't know who they have now.
Yeah, it's a little tough when you do weekday pressers during,
Yeah, I
during the
could.
middle of the day, and a lot
Yeah.
of your media followings out there and fan followings are at work.
Yeah.
Walls actually went 45 minutes.
I feel like sometimes he likes to get in there and get out very quickly, and then sometimes he likes to get in there and then do a comedy
Yeah.
routine. So, which it sounds like a little bit of this was, but
And he got hit with all kinds of stuff too. I mean,
yeah,
he got hit on the Van Lith issue,
yeah,
and I think he handled it quite well.
yeah,
He said, "It's never been my intention to keep a player on the program that doesn't want to be here, that isn't
yeah,
happy." He said, "What good is that?" He actually went as far as to say that she announced her intent to transfer via Zoom.
Yeah.
She and her dad were on Zoom with Coach Walls, and then that's when they discussed the fact that she was going to go to LSU. Uh, but I think he handled it quite well. And it's been a pressure point with a lot of Cardinal fans, guys.
Mhm.
But Walls handled it as cool handled it. He said, if she doesn't want to be here, we're not going to force her to be here. We got to thank her for the 3 years she gave us and wish her luck the best of the way. And that's
Yeah.
all we can do.
And that's good management practice. If somebody doesn't want to
It's,
be on your team, you probably don't want them on your team,
yeah,
honestly. That's going to cause problems. So, and I think there was some subtle shade in some of that too. The comment, I think, sort of the comment about, this is the best team culture we've had in several years. Like, well, okay. There's a little bit of
Well,
subtle shade there, I think.
there have been all kinds of sidebars about too, about people
Yeah.
saying, well, anytime the team would like be together or anything like that, Halo would always be off by herself and sitting by herself and da 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 dee yada yada yada. Well, okay, read what you will into that, whatever.
Yeah.
The fact is, despite who's left on campus and who isn't on campus, they're still going to have to suit it up and play basketball this fall and winter and spring. Yep. And that I think they will do, and hopefully do quite well. As we have actually reached the noon hour, so we've covered a shotgun blast of things for you today. Hope everybody enjoyed what we did talk about a little bit. We'll go into our final thoughts segment now and see if there's anything else that the guys want to toss in here. Jared, you start us out on final thoughts this week.
Yeah, not much for me. I guess I'm just gonna keep enjoying this Cincinnati Reds team until we get to late in the season and they found a way to fall apart. But by the time we get there, it'll be fall sports, so I'll be plenty distracted as is.
It's funny because it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Now you know how the long-standing Cub fan feels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but by the time they start falling apart, we'll be at field hockey and volleyball and soccer. So
exactly,
no big deal there.
With the Cubs, I can always depend on by July 4th. We have no mathematical chance of being anywhere. And let's see what they can bring up from the minor leagues. But what you got, Jeff?
Nothing in the way of new news items that we've missed. We've obviously picked apart a lot of things in this, but just really the results from volleyball being in Brazil. I'm super excited for this season. I think this team is in a really great place. There's a lot of talent. I think we've got some position battles that we're going to see that will be interesting to watch. But I'm excited for what this team is going to bring to the program in the fall. This is definitely a case of reload instead of rebuild. So we lost some great players, some wonderful ones, and they're seeing success in other venues and wish them well. But we're in a great spot, I think.
I do agree with you. I think they are in a very, very good spot. Final thoughts on my end here. I haven't seen any announcement or anything like that. I know that a lot was implied that they wanted Mikasa Robinson to remain with the program, not as a player, but as a graduate assistant or something in that nature. I haven't seen that's happening as of yet, but I certainly hope it's something that is going to happen. Because with this many new players coming into the program, I think you need to find somebody who can be a stabilization rock and is pretty close to them in age and has been there recently. Well, Mikasa Robinson checks all those boxes.
Yeah.
She's one that can sit down and talk, and certainly is one that knows how to take orders too. If Coach Walls wants to get something across, Mikasa will be out there preaching the gospel. So
yep.
I would love to make sure that she's on the sidelines this basketball season coming up. And certainly I hope that they're going to do that with her.
Yeah, if he tells her to run through a wall, pray for the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like worry about what's on the other side of the wall that she's going to run into.
Yeah.
If she's through that wall, that's not a problem. That'll do it for us. And certainly want to thank everybody for listening today. And as always, go Cards.